Good afternoon. My name is Russell with Russell Does Stuff. And I work 6 hours on Monday, 6 hours on Tuesday, and whatever I don't get done, I'll do on Wednesday. And if I don't feel like doing some extra work, I may squeeze it in and do it at my leisure on that Wednesday, that Tuesday, or that Monday, that Thursday or Friday. So I have the day off. And I found myself sitting on the couch watching YouTube. I had a nap, I had lunch, walked the dogs. I said, you know what? I gotta get off my butt and go do something. I didn't really feel like making a video. And I got to thinking, maybe I should get up and go for a walk and do a video. I'm going to do something that I couldn't do years ago. Go for a hike. It's warm outside. It's not too hot. It's 90 something. I'm used to working in the heat, and I can stand in line outside for hours waiting for something in August and not break a sweat because I'm used to working outside all the time. There's a place here that I like to go to with the dogs. There's a massive preserve over here. This place is famous for something that happened in the news a couple years back. And they're working on this path right here. That got washed away during the hurricane. There's another alligator. See it crossing the path right there? See it? Yep, they're on the move. So, I like to come out and walk these trails. And when it's nice out, the experience is a lot better because it's not so hot and the dogs prefer it. Some people are retired and they just sit in the house and they don't do anything. They don't go anywhere. You know. So that was my motivation to get my butt up and go for a hike. I was thinking about this hike last night while I was laying in bed. I said, I got to get out there and hike. I haven't done it in a while. And there's a place that I like to hike to. There's a couple places on this trail that I like to hike to. And there's some really neat scenery out here. This is a massive preserve that the governor designated as land no one will ever build on. This used to be a huge ranch. I have a metal detector and I went around all these old oak trees. That one's not that old. This branch here fell 3 years ago. And it was across the walk right here. So I'd metal detect around these huge oak trees, because the cowboys that used to take care of the cattle, that was their only shade, was these massive oak trees. So I was looking for, things they may have dropped or something, and never found anything. Found some old bullet cartridges and stuff, but nothing to write home about. I texted one of my friends that's at work today. He's still working his 40-hour-a-week job, so he can have 2 days off during the weekend and 1 week's paid vacation a year. Sometimes you get 2. I don't know. It's been so long since I worked for somebody, I don't know how many sick days you get anymore. I think when I was working for somebody, you got like 3 sick days. And then maybe 2 weeks of vacation or whatever. So here's this spot that I like. Make sure there's no snakes. In a past video, I was speaking about a customer that I fired, and he got some of this cow pasture grass, and he had one of these weeds in his grass, and it was probably about this tall when he called me. Only weed in his yard. And he called me about it. I said, don't touch it. It'll grow 6 foot tall or more. I'm 6 foot something, so that's 7 foot, So I'm going to lift the camera up and see if you guys can see this. This is like a marsh, and it's a perfect circle almost, and it's surrounded by oak trees. And I enjoy coming out here. Now, all this grew up once it started raining. April rains make Mayflowers, or whatever that rhyme is, or whatever, Here's an area where some hogs were rooting, or some deer. This looks more like deer. But you can walk across there if you want to during the winter. It's beautiful. I haven't seen this many. I forget what they call these things, but they're thorny and sharp. Here's a path that the deer take through it. So I'm trying out a new selfie stick today. I got it in the mail. Maybe it makes me look farther away or whatever. I'm still working on my camera skills. But one of these days, I'm going to set up a couple chairs and I'm going to have lunch here, okay? And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to look out at this because I think it's awesome. I'm not bragging, I know that there's subscribers that are working 40-hour-a-week jobs and stuff and like it, But that's not for me. I decided 14 years ago I didn't want to do that. I used to watch those influencers on YouTube. They'd pull up in their Lamborghini and get out and stand in front of a jet and give these rah-rah speeches and stuff. And and say, oh, you can be just like me if you buy my course or my book, etc. And I'll swing the camera around. So I figured that if you watched enough of their videos, you could pretty much get their whole book from their videos. So I didn't have the money to buy these books. So, but YouTube's free, you know. I got internet on the cell phone. So I can listen to them talk about their book in different videos. Sometimes it took, 20 or 30 videos to watch of them to get their whole book out of them, They just do little snippets, They'll talk about the trip they went on or the new sports car they bought or how their company's doing and stuff and how their real estate portfolio is and, And when you don't have anything and you're stuck in a job you don't like or a relationship you don't like or you have things you don't like or you don't like your situation or whatever, you'll reach out to these videos and give them your time, because they offer an escape. Is it an escape? Maybe. Now they've cut a fire trail through here. They do that every year. I don't think they did it the last couple years. So it's a fire break. So when the fire comes through here, it won't jump on over to that side. So can I be like those guys? If I buy their book and give them $5,000 and go to their course, well, can I be like them? I'd say 1% possibly could be like them. I have to take a good look at myself. Am I wired that way? We're a product of our environment. So if your dad was a fireman, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to become a fireman. If your dad or mom owned a grocery store, there's a good chance you're going to work at a grocery store. Car dealership, same thing. I've been exposed to labor my whole life. And that's all I know is labor. Tools. Hard work, sweat, and busting your knuckles and being sore at night and, body always being in pain, I had a part-time job filling chlorine jugs when I was a young boy. I think I was 15 or 16. I always had jobs, and I always mowed lawns too. And this guy, his name was John. He owned pool stores, and he told me one day, he's like, you're always going to be broke, and you're going to stink. And if you decide not to stink, you're going to be rich. And I never understood that. I thought he was picking on people like me, He didn't know how to use tools. So when it came to putting things together, I put them together, I'm not picking on him. It's just, something someone says to you, you don't forget, That's total BS. Some of the wealthiest people I know got that way from working hard doing labor, using tools, etc. I have a customer that doesn't like these flowers, and he wanted them all gone. And this is a very large place, and he's, what can we do about the flowers? Well, everything runs the season. I told him, I gave it another week or so, they'll all die. Okay? The bees like that stuff. We need the bees. Don't get me started. So you're going to be stinky and broke. I get it. There's a saying now that's going around. Hard work made you rich. All the construction workers would be rich. The problem is with that statement is, I know a lot of contractors, construction workers that are very wealthy. Okay? Got attacked by a bug. And they've transitioned out of doing the labor to, selling more projects, project managing, all that stuff, These construction workers that are working hard, that they're saying, well, if hard work made you rich, all the construction workers on this planet would be rich. I'd like to see these influencers that say that. Why don't they stop at a construction site next time and say, hey, you guys ever given any thought to being in your own business? Or, hey, what are you doing with your paycheck? Friday when you get it. Are you saving any money? Have you ever given any thought to it besides, going full steam ahead and working as hard as you're working? Have you ever stopped and given any thought to the future? No one ever did that with me. No one sat me down and said, Russell, who does stuff, what are your thoughts on your paycheck that you got Friday? What are you going to do with it? I was around people that, oh, it's payday, it's Friday. When you get your check, give me a call. Let's go out. Let's have fun. Paychecks weren't for buying businesses or saving for your retirement, because I was around the wrong people and I didn't know that. They were good time buddies, good time Charlie type people, blow your paycheck and then Monday you're broke. I realized that way too late in life. I realized that when I was 38 or so, 37. And that's not the answer anymore. You're not going to be wealthy if you keep living like that, those bad habits with your money. Got to get your money right, You can't make yesterday's dollars tomorrow. So when I woke up with a little motivation from somebody who was a business owner, who was in control of me when I had to show up to work, when I could leave, he got my attention. I said, I don't want to be this way anymore. I don't want to live my life like that anymore. By making that decision has allowed me to do whatever I want now. I can't fly to Paris 100,000 times because I would go broke, and two, that's dumb, Here's some pretty cool mushrooms. That's just stupid, stupid thinking. I'm not going to run out and buy a Lamborghini. All right? I can if I want. I can go buy a Lamborghini. I can go buy a Porsche if I want to. But I find that there's more comfort in owning a truck. I could go buy a condo and live by the water if I want to. I don't want to do that. It's not what I want. See, Russell got scared at age 38. Don't live beyond your means, brother. Stay in your lane, you know. I have friends with massive houses. You know, it takes them forever to walk to the kitchen, you know. They want to get in their car, it takes them forever to get to the garage. If they want to check the mail, it takes them forever to walk down the driveway, you know. That's their thing, that's what they like. I got no problems with that. Buying a 100,000 acre ranch, that's something I'm interested in. But I also realize that there's no way I can enjoy that property, you know, because it's so massive. Have just enough to where you can see it and enjoy it, you know. This place ain't that far from my house. Okay? This is technically my backyard. You know? I knew that when I bought this house I invested in. I said, down the road from this house is 10,000 million gazillion acres. You can go walk it anytime you want. There's a creek that runs parallel to this path I'm on. My hound dog likes to swim in it. Some of the YouTube videos that get the most views are from those type of influencers, you know. I noticed that guys like me who are debt-free, own their own home, own their own business, are 90% retired, their videos don't get a lot of views. People are chasing the big stuff, you know. What's a millionaire? What's a millionaire mean in today's world? All these videos are, you can become a millionaire in 30 seconds. If you buy this book and do that and this and do that, you can be a millionaire in 9 easy steps. Well, $1 million ain't gonna get you far in today's world. Back then, that was, I guess, the line that you had to obtain. That just doesn't make any sense. People today still want to be millionaires. They should be wanting $500 million or something. You know, that would be more in line with what the numbers would be like now, you know. I just laugh. Oh, I would feel so good inside if I was a millionaire. Would you? I'm debt free. I have a house that's paid for. I have a business that's paid for. I have a business that's still paying me good money. And like I said, I'm 90% retired. There's not some warm, fuzzy feeling that comes with all that. You know, maybe for the first week, I was like, yeah, this is great. I own that walkway right there. I own that piece of dirt right there. I own everything that I can see. The feeling goes away. And then you're back to reality. I'm back on that couch watching YouTube. Not going to Paris. I'm not doing anything different than I was. I still want the same things. Comfort, a roof over my head. I want food. I went and got food today. I'm going to start planning a trip. I like to take, maybe 3 or 4 trips a year. And that's it. I can't take any more trips than that. Trips are tiring. Takes a lot of energy to go on these trips. And then you miss being home. It's just the reality of it, I'd like to tell everybody to stop wanting and wishing to become a millionaire. If you really want to become a millionaire, go buy 2 houses. There you go. Now what? What you want, in my opinion, everybody they have this figure that they apply to your situation, and they're like, well, you're a millionaire because you own 2 houses and a business and all that stuff. I don't think you should use your debt as a qualifier for being a millionaire or not. If you sold everything you had, what's that final number? And then there you go, If I sold my business, all my investments, all my real estate, what that number is when I'm standing out on the edge of the road is what I'm worth, and I'm worth whatever someone else will give me for it, Rich dad, poor dad. The guy's what? Billions of dollars in debt if he's being honest about it, I'm not saying he's dishonest. I'm just saying that, what's he worth? He's worth, if you apply my formula, he's worth whatever is left over when he sells everything, I have a friend that's like, oh, I'm worth $2 million. My business is worth $2 million. And I say, Joe, is it really worth $2 million? I said, what do you bring in a month? Well, after everything's paid for and stuff, I make $100,000. That's what I get. But my business is worth $2 million. Does that make any sense? He's got $2 million worth of stuff generating $100,000. Now, when I buy lawn accounts and lawn businesses, they always say, I have a $350,000 lawn business for sale. I said, what do you bring in every month? Well, I bring in $30,000, $35,000 a month. I said, all right. Well, I'll give you 3 months minus 10% for your business. Oh no, my business is worth this. I said, well, I'll buy the equipment off of you. I'll give you X amount of dollars for your equipment with the depreciation calculation. What's something really worth? I buy lawn companies for what they're bringing in minus 10% over a few months. Some guys want 6 months. Some guys want 3 months. You know, I've never bought anything where the owner wanted payment over 6 months. I bought their accounts over a 3-month period. And then I used the income minus the down payment I gave them to pay off those accounts. And you can do that in this business because you have every other week off in the wintertime. And I realized that, and I use that to my advantage, okay? I did a video on seasonal businesses, and that's how you can trick time. You know, that's how you can double your efforts. So every year I was buying accounts. Sometimes a lot of accounts, and sometimes, commercial accounts. And in 3 months, they paid for themselves, and then for the next 9 months, I was generating positive cash flow. Okay? That's why I like the lawn and the landscaping business. Because you can generate a large amount of cash very quickly if you save up your money to have that down payment, to plan. I planned to do it, you know. I was always on Marketplace and Craigslist looking for lawn accounts for sale, you know, to add them to what I was doing. It's amazing how you can increase the amount of money coming in each month with just a little creativity. I'm gonna walk down here to this bridge and see if there's any alligators. And that's how I did it. I started with 150 bucks. I had a flip phone. I made my 5 phone calls a day for 3 months. I couldn't afford advertising. I had no money. I didn't have money to buy flyers to send out to people in their mailbox. You know, Alex Formosi, whatever his name is, I watch all his stuff. That guy's sharp. When I watch his stuff, it sharpens me up. I'm never going to be worth $250 million. Okay? He started a lot younger. He had time on his side, you know? Anybody can do it. You can start this business that I'm in at my age if you want to grind. You can do anything you want. A bunch of years ago, I was looking at buying a $500,000 lawn service. I would have bought it on terms because nobody has that kind of cash. Somebody with $500,000 isn't going to go out and mow lawns and plant plants in the ground. Okay? So it's very hard to get money from somebody for something that expensive. And I know that. So I worked up some terms for that deal. And I decided that it was too much of a headache. Most of the accounts were in some of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Florida. And I didn't want to deal with the people. A large amount of people draining my energy and stuff. I knew to say no to something like that because that's not how I'm wired. You know, then I'd had to have hired somebody to deal with those people and stuff, and it just wasn't something I decided I wanted to get involved with. You know, the money sounded good. You know, having $500,000 coming in every year, you know, minus the expenses and stuff and the employees and stuff. When you're mowing $500,000 worth of lawns, you know, it costs money to do that. So what was the reward? You'd be shocked, but you know, it's probably $180,000 after everything is said and done. As a one-man operation, I was doing close to 160, you know. Well, let's see if there's any alligators in here, and I'll wrap this up. You guys have heard me ramble enough. There's a gar in there. The bank's overgrown pretty good, so. Oh, look at that. Oh, that ain't a gar. That's a piece of wood. I ought to come out here and do a camping video. I'm good at camping and I like to camp. And then there's some big gar in there. Those are alligator gar. And what they do is they eat all the other fish. And too bad they don't eat each other. I think they're invasive, so. All right, well, I hope you guys gleaned some useful information out of this video. The whole idea was to get off the couch and get out here and hike. And maybe share some of my infinite wisdom with you guys. This is all possible because I work my plan. You know, I plan my work and work my plan. You know, it wasn't easy getting here. There was a guy that worked at a 7-Eleven when I used to buy coffee. I used the same cup and I'd get coffee for $1. I think he was in his 50s, and no, he was older than that. He was 60 something. And I think he just got Social Security or whatever, and he was retiring. And on his way to Tennessee, he died. And that's a true story. He worked his whole life, and on the week of his retirement, he was moving to Tennessee, and he bit the farm. Well, this is Russell with Russell Does Stuff, and I appreciate all my subscribers. If you want, oops, hold on, let's stop here. That is a bobcat trail. A bobcat track, excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's that. Neat. Sorry about the diversion. And if you like this kind of stuff, cool. I appreciate you supporting the channel. And this isn't your thing and you're just passing through, I appreciate it. Until the next time, this is Russell with Russell Does Stuff.